Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, Chapter 15. Why did you cheat? Commandant Rotorot sat behind his desk like some kind of overfed inquisitional barrister. I stood before him, and Sulu and Chekhov were in the office too, with Sulu leaning against a wall with his arms folded and Chekhov sitting on the leather couch. I'd expected Captain Kirk to be here too, but I guess he was sparing me the embarrassment. Gee, thanks. The simulator shows evidence of tampering, Rotorot went on, without waiting for an answer to his first question. What have you got to say for yourself? What could I say? That changing the parameters of a simulation isn't exactly cheating by a strict reading of the rules? How would that sound? That I wanted to impress my crew? That I needed to beat the no-win in order to stay in command school long enough to clear my science officer of sabotage and my engineer of espionage? So my ship could survive, sir, I said. Good as any. Reprogramming the simulator may not violate the letter of the law, he said, but it's a violation of everything we've been trying to teach you. Therefore, we've decided to take disciplinary action against you. My spine went rigid, and I actually leaned forward an inch. That's not what you did to Cadet Kirk, sir. The Academy can take any disciplinary action it chooses, Captain Sulu said. We're putting you on probation and letting it be known that we're considering expulsion. I parted my lips to protest, then decided that just wouldn't help. What about Sturek and Robin? Don't worry, David, Chekhov said. How good would it look for the Academy to expel the second cadet to ever beat the no-win test? So you're not going to expel me? Is the room spinning? No, Sulu said. We just want things to appear that way, so you appear desperate. I licked my cut lip. Sir, I don't understand. Cadet, Rotorot began. What would you be prepared to do in order to clear your science officer of the bombing charges? Facing him, I blurted, Anything, sir. Good, Sulu said. We believe Cadet Sturek is innocent. However, there's evidence to indicate that another of your crew may have been involved in the incident. My chest felt as if it were caving in. They knew. Yes, sir, I admitted with a sinking tone. Robin Brady. If you had evidence, Rotorot charged, you should have brought it to our attention immediately. I stumbled across it just before taking the Kobayashi Maru. I did know how to handle it, so I decided to keep it to myself until I could confront him as his commanding officer. Sulu nodded approvingly. He seemed to understand better than Rotorot did. Cadet Brady is confirmed as being in the engineering library at the time his access codes were used to break into the lab. We don't believe he's the one who set the bomb. I never believed it either, sir, I told him with a rush of relief. To find out who did, he went on, we'd like you to undertake a covert mission for us. Rotorot stood up and came around his desk. We'll announce that you're on probation. We'll tell the cadets that we found some vital clue as to the identity of the bomber and that we're examining it in the science lab compound analysis section. Chekhov stood up too. Were we going to dance? Then, the commander said, you get to complain about how unfairly the Academy has treated you. Hint that you're looking for a way to get back at us. A lot of the cadets know you've been working with me on the simulators, and that you have access to the lab. More relaxed now, Rotorot held up a finger. Now keep in mind, Cadet, if you agree to assist us, you cannot talk about this mission to your team. They must believe you're being expelled. Well, Sulu asked, are you ready to take on the challenge? They squared off in front of me and they already knew my answer. Great, because it was a complete surprise to me when it came out. Yes, sir, I'm ready. Congratulations, Sulu said with a canny smile. You're officially on probation, pending expulsion from Starfleet Academy. Good luck with your mission, and don't forget, this one's no simulation. Dismissed! The cadets' lounge was a flurry of mixed emotions awaiting me from 24 fronts. My own crew sat in a corner clutch of chairs, their faces in the carpet, and between us was a field of cadets, some sullen, others beaming. I was pummeled with congratulation and sympathy as I tried to get through to my crewmates. Some people lauded me for beating the no-win, and others expressed anger or regret that I was being expelled. I felt as if I were the star attraction at a funeral, people mourning and murmuring reassurances at the same time. Finally, I broke through all the handshakes and backslaps and attempts at moral support and joined my crew in the corner. Sturek, of course, was conspicuously missing, still in confinement since he hadn't been cleared. Yet. We have to do something, Magia said instantly. No hello, no nothing, just that. We can't just let them expel you, David, Jana agreed. We've all agreed to stand up for you. If they want to expel you, they'll have to explain to all of Starfleet how they expelled an entire command team. Corin squeezed my arm. Right. Robin handed me a hot cup of something, chocolate, and I turned to him with a sad smile. I was glad to see him and be free of the suspicion. I'm not about to get the rest of you expelled trying to help me, I told them. We tried to help Sturek and it backfired. We're not trying that again. I've got my own plans. What does that mean? Robin asked. Hey, Forrester. It was Frank Milan. He came through the lounge with 3 of his own crewmates, not looking very sympathetic. Well. Guess you're a civilian again, right? Corin vaulted to his feet and rammed Milan back into 2 of his crewmates. You're about a millisecond from sudden death, Milan. Corin! I jumped up and pulled him back. Settle down. Luckily, he'd gotten to like taking orders from me. Turning to Milan, I simply requested, get the hell out of here, Frank. He's looking for a fight, Jana accused. No, he's not, I said. He knows there isn't one here. Right, Frank? All right, Milan mocked. Sure knew that. Didn't mean to break up your pity party. With a victorious glance at his crew, he gave me an unconvincing pat on the shoulder and vectored off. Everybody sit down. I settled back onto the couch next to Magia. Corin could only manage to perch on the arm of Robin's chair. I still think we should take some action. Confiscate the scores or the files or burn down a building or something. If the evidence against you disappeared, what could they do? I smiled. What an idea. This is unjust, Magia agreed. The Academy is wrong. It's my fight, I told them. I want all of you to stay out of it. I haven't been expelled yet. I'm just on probation. Pending expulsion, Robin reminded me. It's not fair, David. Yes, it is, I said. Just when I was trying to think up a great lie for which they might not hate me later, Cadet Faith Gage appeared in front of me. Faith Gage, just the person I wanted to see. Corin had wanted to be attractive to her. Robin had wanted to, and suddenly I wanted to. Hello, David, she said then. Can I speak to you for a minute? Oh, sure. I looked at my crewmates. You guys better get going. Believe it or not, we have another simulator mission at 800 hours. Better get some rest. They didn't want to leave me, and that made me feel better. On the other hand, I hoped they would just go. The less time I spent with them, the less I had to keep from telling them the truth. I'd just won their trust, and now it had to be risked. Go on, I encouraged, in a tone that was meant to communicate that I was okay, not upset, resigned to fate. Could be left here, wouldn't jump off Golden Gate Bridge. Faith Gage was sympathetic enough to offer Robin a hug on his way past me. But there was something hollow and superficial about it. I couldn't tell whether or not Robin got that feeling. Soon I was sitting alone with her, and the other cadets in the lounge were making a point of not coming around. "David," she said again, "I heard about what the command staff did to you. They're completely unfair." "I know." "Look, David, I know time might be short, so I've got to tell you. I visited Robin the day before the explosion. I spotted a schematic for a homemade bomb in his quarters." I tried to keep any reaction out of my face, but I don't think I succeeded. "You think Robin planted the bomb?" "I don't know, but when I heard they found some new evidence, I was worried." "That's good of you, Faith." I patted her hand, hoping the move wasn't too ridiculous. "You're the only friend Robin has outside of our team. You're the only person he's talked to since we got to command school." "Oh, I know," she said. "I don't want to see anything happen to Robin." "Neither do I. But what can we do about it?" She put her long, elegant fingers across my arm. "I'm afraid he was driven to this by his infatuation with me. I feel responsible. David, if they're going to expel you anyway, then I'm the only one with anything to lose. You've still got the access code, and I know where to look for the evidence." I was either the luckiest bastard in Starfleet or the unluckiest. What a target I made. "Where?" I asked. "In the lab," she said. "If there are any remnants of the things I saw in Robin's quarters, we can get them out of there before the investigators find them." "But if Robin's guilty," I suggested, "he should get caught, shouldn't he?" "I think it's my fault," she said quickly. "Whatever he's involved in, it's got to be just to get my attention. Somebody's using him. I'm willing to risk breaking in if you'll go in again. I've only got a communications access code. The lab security system requires command or engineering." Keeping my voice low, I nodded. "Why not? They can't expel me twice, can they?" "Good," she smiled. "Okay, I'll meet you tonight after the nebula analysis seminar." "Perfect." "Can you get me into the computer?" Faith asked. "Sure." "You look nervous, David. You want to help Robin, don't you?" "I'm just a little jumpy lately. Don't worry about me, Faith. Just do what you can. Type in your access code." The lab computer made no sounds, but flashed bright patterns on Faith Gage's classical features as we huddled in the darkened room. I didn't know why she wanted to be here, but it sure wasn't to clear Robin Brady. It bothered me a little that she thought I was so dense, but maybe she had that power over people. She certainly had it over Robin, and shy or not, he wasn't stupid. "Look at this," she said. "Robin used his access code the day of the break-in. It looks like the investigators stored the remains of the bomb in locker D47. Let's take a look." She was too eager. She pushed out of the computer chair and hurried to the security lockers around the corner. I was the only one here who could access the locker code. She could have easily just let me do it by myself, but instead she crowded me at the locker panel like a hungry wolf. I keyed my command candidate code, and the locker's magnetic trap clicked. The panel slid open. Faith nudged me aside and looked in. There's nothing in here." Her voice changed to a bitter snarl. No more seduction in it at all. She backed away and drew a concealed palm phaser. "What's going on, David?" I lowered my chin and glared at her. My nervousness fell away. Now I was just angry. "What are you doing, Faith?" "Just stay over there." She glanced around. "This is a trap." "You used Robin's crush on you to get the code from him," I said. Her pretty face crumpled with fury and misery. "How did you know? Even the investigators didn't know." "Because I know Robin better than the investigators do. He hardly ever speaks to anybody, except our crew, and you were the only person who had any effect on him. He even did what you said and went to the Vanguard meetings. That's a pretty powerful spell you cast on him. And you planted the bomb that almost killed Sturek. Why, Faith? What makes a cadet do something like that?" Her complexion paled. "We never meant it to go this far, but we couldn't let Sturek finish his project. We had to be sure the Klingons got blamed for Bysea." "Who's we?" "You can still work with us, David. You can still join the Vanguard." Vanguard, I sighed. Again. I guess I knew. Not all that deep down. You're just the right kind of person for us, she encouraged. You could join us and stand at Captain Kirk's side as the only two people to ever beat the no-win scenario. I took a ridiculous step toward her and toward that phaser, and her posture suddenly changed enough to show me that she'd use a weapon if I didn't back off. What's Captain Kirk got to do with the Vanguard? He's our hero, she said with quiet awe. We're approaching him to be our leader. Are you kidding? James Kirk? David, he hates Klingons. They killed his son. Don't you know that? No, I didn't know that. If we could get him on our side, we can change Federation policy toward Klingons and all the other hostile species out there. We could aggressively end their reign of terror over whole sectors of the galaxy. Think of how life would improve. My chest started to hurt, and I realized I'd stopped breathing, so I breathed and got a headache. Faith, you guys really believe in all this, don't you? Yes! I'm sorry about Sturek. He wasn't supposed to be caught in the explosion. It was just bad timing. It's about the survival of the Federation, David. Inner rage boiled up in me for the inexcusable mistake that almost cost my crewman's life. Well, I hope this was worth ruining your career, Faith, I said. You're under arrest. Her face hardened. I've got the phaser, David. I'm going to kill you and leave your body next to the empty locker. I'll tell them you committed suicide when you couldn't find the evidence. That won't hold up. I think it will. I've got ways of making people trust me. I know you do. There's just one problem. Her lovely eyes narrowed. What problem? Tremendous relief flushed over me when Captain Sulu, Commandant Rotorot, and 3 security guards stepped out of the auxiliary lab, all 3 holding phasers on Faith Gage. It's not his trap, Sulu said. For an instant, through the shock on Faith's expression, I saw her hand cramp briefly on the phaser that was aimed at me. Then the terrible doubt caught her by the throat and she couldn't go through with killing me. I wanted to believe there was pure humanity at work in her, but had to live with the disappointment that she was just looking out for herself. An espionage charge was less grave than a murder charge. Looks like we caught our bomber, Rotorot said. Good work, Cadet Forrester. As he and Sulu came to my side and the security guards took charge of Faith, I leaned against the locker and said, Strange. I thought it would be Frank Milan. Guess I misjudged him. It happens, Sulu said with a grin. Then he turned toward the auxiliary lab and called, Cadet Sturek, come out, please. Now, I hadn't expected this, but here came Sturek. I guess they wanted him to see how far I'd gone to clear him. I looked at Sulu with tremendous gratitude as Sturek came to my side. I appreciate your standing by me, David, he said sincerely. I have never before enjoyed such devotion. Offering only a smile, I backed it up with a handshake and a feeling we both shared of how good it was to stand together. Cadet Forrester, Rotorot began with that puffed-up pomposity he did so well. Your actions were above and beyond the call of duty. Any charges against you are hereby dropped, and you are fully reinstated at Starfleet Academy. You have the appreciation of the entire command staff of Starfleet Academy. What could I say? I'm honored to serve, sir. Not bad. Cadet Sturek, Rotorot went on, it's my pleasure to clear you of any suspicion of sabotage, and you may continue your work on the Bicea attack ship. Cadet Forrester, we would like you to assist Mr. Sturek in his analysis. Sir? And also, we would like you to help us investigate the further activities of the Vanguard. Will you do this? I gazed at him briefly, then at Sulu, who said, It's not official business, David. You're free to decline. Oh, sure. I'd be happy to assist, sir. Good. Then you need to be brought in on the secret about Sturek's work and why the Vanguard thought they had to destroy the evidence. Tell him, Mr. Sturek. I turned to my science officer. Sturrock looked drawn and overworked, but relaxed and relieved that he'd been cleared of suspicion. I found a neural network etched into the molecules of the attack ship. What does that mean? I asked. It means the ship itself is a life form. You're kidding. A ship that's alive? You mean a life form that just looks like a ship? In some manner, yes. Or a vessel that is tied directly into the living bodily functions of those who drive it. It also means, Sulu added, that the Klingons had nothing to do with the massacre on Mycia. They have no technology like that. Sir, I began, if Sturrock's evidence was destroyed in the bombing, how can we keep going with the investigation and prove it wasn't the Klingons? Sturrock offered a subtle Vulcan version of a shrug. I memorized some of the DNA sequences and metallurgical compounds and have fed them back into a database. They're incomplete without the actual fragments and molecular structure. Identification will be painstaking, but there's still a chance of breaking the genetic code and discovering who is staging these attacks. The work will not be easy, David. You should reconsider. No, I'm not going to reconsider. I'm going to help stop whoever's doing these things. Just for Megia's sake, if nothing else. Whoever it is, Rotorot said, they've got mass murder to answer for. We can't have this in the galaxy. No, sir, I agreed. We can't. Congratulations, cadets, Sulu said, with that quizzical you're in trouble now gleam in his eyes. Now you get to do the really hard work. Chapter 16. Sturrock, you're overworking yourself. Vulcans have excellent stamina. You're neglecting your training, too. It's not your fault that the proof was lost. If anything, it was my fault. I should have gone into that fire and pulled your data out. You'd have been killed, David. And thousands of innocent people are being killed in these random attacks. If I'd taken action in the lab, we might have stopped these massacres by now. You'd have been killed. For days, our lives had been a pattern of work and training overlaid by more work. I hadn't had more than 4 hours sleep a night for nearly a week. We still had our simulator obligations, our physical training, our drilling, enough to keep up the appearance of being ordinary cadets who weren't working on anything special for Starfleet. Of course, our crew noticed, and that meant word got around that something was going on. If I was overworking myself, Sturrock was virtually committing suicide. He didn't sleep at all. He just kept digging and analyzing and recalibrating the scraps of data he'd stored in his mind after the explosion. For every 10 feet we climbed, we'd slip back 8. But as much as we were suffering, there were others who were suffering more. Megia, who had lost her entire family. The thousands of victims in the border colonies and outposts who had been killed or injured, who had lost loved ones, and who were scrambling to defend themselves against the expected unknown. I found it dazzling that Sturrock and I might be the only thing standing between those people and more destruction. We felt so isolated here. And the real torture was that we really weren't getting anywhere. Days of work with very little to show for it. We were climbing an ice ladder. Around noon on the 5th day, I gave up. Sturrock, we're stumped. We've got to admit to Captain Sulu that we just don't have enough to work with here. He turned to me, and I could see that he wanted to argue, to tell me that this was Starfleet duty, honor, give up wasn't in our vocabulary. But the frustration was in his eyes, too. His face was grooved by exhaustion. I'm forced to agree, he said with terrible reluctance. Is there nothing we can do? I started to say no, but I couldn't make it come out. I was his commanding officer. He expected more from me. I expected more from me. There had to be something. I'll resign from the command school, I said abruptly. I'll volunteer for a recon mission to Mycia or one of the other attack sites and gather more fragments. That could take months, Sturrock pointed out. I started to respond, but another voice cut through the room. It won't take months. We both turned as Captain Kirk strode briskly toward us, carrying 2 handfuls of scorched metal. Captain, I gasped. I thought you'd shipped out, sir. I did. But there was another attack along the Klingon neutral zone 3 days ago. He tossed metallic shards onto the table where Sturek and I were working. Fragments of the attacking vessel, sheared off by planetary defense. They've got the same etchings that Sturek discovered before. Since you did the initial analysis, I persuaded Starfleet to turn the fragments over to you. We're back in business. So, he was one step ahead of me all the way. What a surprise. I know we're asking you to jeopardize your training, Kirk went on, and I'm not here to tell you how to spend your time. I'm here to extend an opportunity. You two are being given command responsibility. Whether you take it or not, it's up to you. Feeling the pressure of innocent lives on our hands, I looked at Sturek. He nodded. I picked up one of the fragments and looked at Captain Kirk. We'll figure it out, sir. His eyes got that dangerous twinkle. Yes, I think you will. He turned on a heel and strode out and was met at the door panels by McGee, who stepped aside for Captain Kirk to pass. The captain nodded a greeting at her, but made no other comment or indication that he knew anything about her. And he did, of course. I got a very clear message from that subtle lack of attention. He was leaving her to me. David, McGee began as she came into the lab, you wanted to see me? Sturek picked up one of the fragments and politely turned his back, heading over to the spectral analysis chamber and leaving the two of us alone. Yes, I said to her. McGee, are you a member of the Vanguard? She looked startled, then embarrassed. I know you've been to their meetings, I added. Then she nodded. It was for your own protection, David. My protection? What's that supposed to mean? After the attack on Bicea, I did go to their meetings. I was angry, and Frank Milan had answers I wanted to hear. But then Faith tried to frame Robin. I couldn't stand for that. And since the Klingons have been moving more toward peace with the Federation, the Vanguard's starting to talk about violent action. What's that got to do with protecting me? Some of the Vanguard want you to join them. They're impressed when you beat the Kobayashi Maru, and they think you're their type, whatever that is. They know James Kirk likes you, and they think Kirk's on their side. Because of his attitude about Klingons, I get it. He hates them, and everybody knows it. And the Klingons hate him right back. I stayed in the Vanguard because I wanted to hear what they were saying about you. I lowered myself onto a stool and tried to clear my head. Do you have any proof that the Vanguard is going to get violent? Have you mentioned this to Captain Sulu? Yes, I did. But his official policy is hands off the Vanguard to avoid making them into martyrs. He's going to wait for them to do something really illegal before moving in. I don't have any proof to back up what I think. They let me in, but they're very guarded. They only trust humans. We fell silent for a few moments, hearing only the click and scrape of Sturek as he plunged into analysis of the new fragments in the other room. The problem with waiting for the Vanguard to do something illegal was that somebody could get killed. Having come so close to losing Sturek, I couldn't summon up that much patience. Well, if they think I should join them, maybe I should. McGee frowned. You mean infiltrate? David, you can't fool them. They've got a telepath who clears everybody at the door. You'd have to think like them, and I know you don't. Is this telepath human? Yes, she is. She trains someplace other than Earth, though. Human telepaths aren't that reliable, I said. But Vulcans are. Her eyes widened. Sturek, of course. He could use a mind meld to mask your thoughts. You could pretend you found a cover-up that turned you against the Federation. You have an evil mind, McGee, I said. I like it. But mind meld, we'll have to wait until Sturek and I get a handle on this cyber ship project. Lives are at stake. What do you want me to do? She asked. You? Keep going to the Vanguard meetings. Keep your ears open. Report to me if you hear anything other than hot propaganda. I understand, she said. There's a meeting in half an hour. I wasn't going to go, but I will now. I'll be in navigation class with the rest of the crew if you need me. McGee, be careful. Frank Milan and his kind aren't the trusting types. You'll be required to memorize combinations of long-range visual signals that signify hundreds of ships' conditions. Under power, not under power, adrift, in distress, under tow, embarking, personnel in spacewalk, keep your distance, vessel damage, stop immediately, warning, require assistance, veering starboard or port, in reverse, wish to communicate, and many others. You must be able to recognize these visuals instantly in half-second flashes. Any questions? Yes, sir, one of the helm candidates asked. Why are visual signals necessary? With available communication technology, we'll know the condition of any ship before we ever come within visual range in open space. Good question. Commander Chekhov looked up from the mass of laminated charts Captain Kirk had left behind on the big table in the navigation seminar hall. Any answers? Comlink failure, Robin Brady automatically said as he stood just behind my left shoulder. Subspace interference? Someone else suggested. Another cadet added, spatial distortion. Anything else? Chekhov eyed us, implying that there were plenty of others, and he wasn't satisfied and he wasn't going to help. The crew could be sick or unconscious, I suggested. Ah! He held up a hand. Never forget, there could be a non-technical answer. Very good, Mr. Forrester. From behind, Corin clasped my shoulders and gave me a congratulatory shake. As exhausted as I was, I found myself particularly grateful and burdened by their pride. My crew had been enjoying the reputation of competitive spirit since we beat the no-win, and the reputation was getting harder and harder for me to live up to, and the salty jealousy of the other cadets was something I hadn't anticipated. Get out! Get out of the room! The desperate call came from the main entrance. Like a flock of lemmings, we all turned and gawked. It was Magia. She came charging into the room between the rows of seats toward the lecture area and the display table where we were all clustered. Do as she says, I shouted spontaneously. I spun around and shoved Corin and another cadet away from the table. The other cadets naturally turned to Commander Chekhov, but he was no fool. He grabbed two cadets near him and veered them into movement. Do it! He shouted, and began herding the cadets toward the nearest lecture level exit. Magia came down the center aisle, calling, Hurry! Get out! Everyone! I glanced over my shoulder at the cadets who were still too stunned to move and angled back to shove some of them along. Skidding along the rim of the table, I grabbed Robin Brady, who was completely dumbfounded. Robin, move! I hauled on his arm like a tug of rope, but in a fit of panic he resisted for a crucial instant before letting me move in. Overhead there was a ghastly crack, and the ceiling caved in.